variance. It's bound to occur in MMA fights, but this week in particular, we had a lot of it. Folks, we were not fighting in Vegas. This was UFC Atlantic City, and it looks like the judges, the officiants, wanted a little bit more airtime than normal. They definitely made sure that they found themselves involved. We had a couple of nasty eye pokes, marred some big victories. We had a little bit of ghost tap, some tap gate, and a whole bunch of craziness that we need to break down. So we're not going to mince any words. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and welcoming me, as always, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Before we get started, UFC Atlantic City, boom or bust?
Derick, I say it's a boom this weekend, excuse me. Boom for the fact it may not have been the people that, got poked in the eye or got a check taken from them, but boom in the fact of entertainment factor, man. This was an exciting weekend, 8 knockouts, man. I enjoyed myself. What about you?
8 knockouts, but let's just say there was a little bit of controversy within those knockouts that took a little bit of the gleam and the glamour away from it. Entertaining night at the office, but I can't say that it was a successful night at the office here, AJ. So let's go ahead and let's just do a quick recap. I hit the 2-4 on the week. You hit the 1-5. It wasn't successful in terms of the picks. I think some of the logic was there. Some just straight up variance. So let's take a look down at the scoreboard below. I moved to 37-20. You moved to 32-25. Long race ahead of us, folks. Good news. We both took a dip down in our ratings right here, 55% and plus overall. You gotta love it. But let's jump into what actually matters right here, and that's gonna be the big screen. There's a lot of red, folks. We don't like to see all of this red. This is not what I like to come back into a performance assessment, but these are the numbers right here. So as you can see, consensus picks. Let's jump into the consensus picks right there, bro. Yeah. 1-4. What can we say right here, AJ, other than Chitty? Probably the pick that I was the most fearful about ends up hitting pretty easily. Luque, we got a lot to talk about right here. My man rolled over. Bruno Silva, eye poke gate, right? Cedricus Dumas, eye poke gate. It wasn't fun. Any quick word on this before we jump into the next?
Folks, all I gotta say, man, you might see a lot of red on this screen right here, but this is why this matters, because we're holding ourselves accountable, and the only way you learn is from having to stare at a screen that you missed a whole bunch of red on, or that you see a whole bunch of red on from your misses. And either way, we're gonna be back next week. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened in this card, and that's why I'm excited to break down how it all went down with y'all.
That's it. What'd you just say right here, man? I mean, do you like your logic, or was this a gimme? Like, or do you say, like, give me back, I want a mulligan on this one, I did not like how this went? Obviously, the result was what it was. I'm talking about the process and picking our picks.
No, I wouldn't change anything, Derick. I mean, there was, and full clarity, folks, even before the start of the pre-show, I said the same thing about the Chidi Njokuani and the Bill Algeo pick, but I still would go with what we thought because it was solid picks and analysis going forward. Sometimes, especially when you're not fighting with the normal judges and the normal referees, things get a little squirrely, and then we end up with a lot of red on the board.
Yeah, early stoppages, eye pokes, MMA variance at its finest right there. Well, that's the consensus picks, folks. We were able to provide some value. AJ was, at least. Matthews versus Bazookia, you hit on the under 2.5 rounds flawlessly. Beginning of like round 3, he got the KO. That was awesome. I feel like I got robbed on mine for the Dumas pick because the fight never really got started. He gets eye poked, then gets knocked out, and then they're just like, that's fine. That's okay. No worries. So we get robbed of the Dumas knockout. Interesting to see how that would have played out late. And then for the parlays, we went brick mode on the parlays. Luque versus Buckley over 2.5 does not hit. Malkoun versus Petrosky, Ghost hip on the temple, knocks himself out, doesn't hit. It doesn't matter. I hit on the Jandaroba Godinez over 2.5, but Emmers by decision did not cash whatsoever. Nate the Train, he's who we have to thank for that one. So overall, through and through, folks, that is your bet recap, right? That's what happened. But now let's take a little bit of a closer look into some of this, because there's some stuff that we need to talk about. And let's start off, AJ, before we jump into like the controversy of eye pokes and early stoppages. We had a domination victory from Manon Fiorot. She dismantled Erin Blanchfield in a 50-45 affair. And this was one of those summaries of her career where she's been doing this to every single other fighter that she's fought, essentially, maybe not Thug Rose, right? And we see it done to Blanchfield, and everybody's like, oh my God, maybe Fiorot is the real deal. She's bigger than everybody. She seems stronger than everybody. Gas tank is still a little bit questionable, but that was through and through almost a flawless performance, would you say?
Oh, absolutely, Derek. And I'm curious why it was so maybe not easy for Thug Rose to be able to nullify and mitigate the attack style of Manon Fiorot. But if nobody else can repeat what Rose did, man, Manon is going to be running away with everything in this division because of the length and the strength. That's what really surprised me in this fight was how strong Manon Fiorot was able to just shuck off Blanchfield. Man, it looked like nothing in there. It looked like a whole nother weight class was fighting a youngin. It was interesting to see how people are going to be able to deal with that in the future.
And that's what I'm saying, man. The moment that I saw them at the actual weigh-ins, confidence for that plus 160 pick for Fiorot just skyrocketed because, yeah, when she gets actually down to the ground, which she did on her own effort, she literally picks up Blanchfield, almost guillotines herself, right? Once you find yourself in that spot, you could see how dangerous Blanchfield was, but on the feet, man, it's just a little bit of a different monster. But that's actually not what I wanted to talk about here today, AJ. I'm not sure if you were aware. There's a little tap gate that went on. And while I was watching the fight, I don't know if you had the same moment, but while I was watching the fight, folks, I see this was during that guillotine situation for Erin Blanchfield, right? It gets deep. I'm like, okay, the side that Manon Fiorot's on, she's passed. I mean, Blanchfield doesn't have her legs wrapped around. She can't do like a full-on guillotine, but she's a sick, jiu-jitera, if you will. So there's still danger. They start to do a scramble and they start doing like a flip to get back up. And then I saw tap, 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 get up. Referees don't call anything. I was like, oh shit, she tapped. It's a wrap. Blanchfield got it. And I hedged AJ. I have to be transparent. I hedged a small wager, Erin Blanchfield by submission, just because I thought that was a clear path to victory. But, of course, we're going to bring up the big screen, and let's see what we got here. So here's the question right here from a Twitter user. It says, did Manon Fiorot tap in the first round against Blanchfield? You be the judge. So as you can see here, right there. You saw that? Look at that. That was a couple different hands. That's a couple different hands right there. So it's on that roll, right? When she rolled her over, all the room tap. Was that a tap? I mean, you tell me. You could see the hand movement. Why does the hand move like that continuously? Look, so tap right there. Both hands, right? Tap. I mean, you tell me, AJ, from the film analysis that we were seeing, breaking news right here. Tapgate right here, AJ. What are your thoughts?
Tapgate, Derek. It looks like Tapgate to me. I didn't see this in live time, so I'm not upset that people missed it. But man, it looks like there was two instances of a tap. You can see the blue gloves tapping right there, and especially with the white shorts, you know it's Manon going in for it, and that was weird. That was weird, man. I'm interested to see if there's any people going back and trying to re-win this or trying to refight this. This was an interesting one. I didn't see this, man.
That's a little bit of marring if that it did happen. Maybe they say what's the camera angles, whatever you want to call it, man. But what do you think moving forward now? Because the fights that Fiorot has in front of her, it's going to be Shevchenko, it's going to be Grasso. Unless something like catastrophic happens, it's going to be one of the two. Grasso does have a submission threat, not nearly on the same level as of Erin Blanchfield, but just like, what does this mean for Manon Fiorot moving forward? Do we just move past it and say, what's done is done, can't change the past, or does it give you worries for some potential submission threats in the future?
Oh, it definitely gives me worries for potential submission threats, especially because that's the best way to beat Manon Fiorot. Get her to the ground, tap her out. But if I'm Manon, man, that never happened. What proof? I mean, you guys are saying about this video. The ref didn't see it. I didn't see it. Nobody tapped. That's a narrative I would be pushing. But also to that same point, if you are going to be pushing that narrative, you better start working your jiu-jitsu skills in the gym because people are going to be going after it.
That's it right there, man. So just through and through, Manon Fiorot, she cashed plus 285 decision prop right there. That's one that I said a lot of people didn't know how they were feeling about it. I really liked if she was going to be victorious, it would be by decision. I didn't bet on decision. I just bet the pure money line. But even still, right there, plus 160, whoever tailed right there, you are happy after you placed a sizable wager. But for Erin Blanchfield, I guess that's the flip side before we move on from here, man. I said it in the pre-show. I truly believe it. I think that Erin Blanchfield one day will be champion. I think the thing that's stopping her in that matchup specifically is her durability, her ruggedness, her perseverance, her knack to just move forward and eat punches all day long, because she kind of felt like a human punching bag more or less in that fight, was deterred by the constant footwork and the ability for Manon Fiorot to dictate the distance of the fight where that took place. I'm imagining Blanchfield, only 24 years old, will be able to learn from this and bounce back. But what's the window now, man? At the end of 2026, is Erin Blanchfield a champion?
Ooh, 2026, basically 2 years, a little less than 2 years, Derek. I'm saying yes, man. I think the 24-year-old Blanchfield learns a lot from this falter and really starts to work on her game and solidify it because, man, we saw a lot of good things in there. It was just that quick step of not being able to get where she needs to or not being able to control the position when she did get to that position.
Yeah.
That right there, it's just a quick, fine couple movements, and Blanchfield's looking good.
That's it. That's it. And I mean, listen, bro, you saw how well she did against Tyler Santos. There's nobody else in this division as large and as strong as Manon Fiorot. So big win by the Beast. We're hopefully going to be seeing her next against either Grasso or Shevchenko. But the unfortunate news is that's probably not going to happen until like summer of next year or something like that, man. So she's going to be on the shelf for a while. But with that being said, man, let's move on over to the co-main event right here. Not yet the controversy, but we could say Joaquin Buckley, welcome to the rankings, man. Welcome to almost the top 10, but you're definitely in the top 15 of the welterweight division. Funny how it plays out, man, that sometimes you have a Dustin Poirier who could put on a timeless performance and say, hey, I'm going to give an opportunity to the young gun who wants a shot, and he's formidable, and he actually makes it a competitive bout. Vicente Luque, on the other hand, right here, AJ, there's a lot of madness going on in the air, and there's people being disrespectful and accusing Vicente Luque of more or less throwing the fight. I don't think that's accurate, but I feel like the performance that we saw right here was not indicative of the Vicente Luque that we typically watch right here. I feel more than anything else, he didn't want to be there, man. And if there's a way to get out of that fight, that was the way to get out. You pull guard, eat a couple shots, you're not really hurt, ref calls the fight, and you're like, all right, well, oh well. What did you think, man? Well, is this the fall off of Vicente Luque, or was this just a really bad night at the office?
I'm not ready to call it a fall off, Derek. I mean, the way the whole fight broke down, especially with the explosiveness of Buckley and having timing and those kind of things, man, it played out how we thought. I just thought Luque would be able to handle it or mitigate those a little bit more, a little bit better. But I'm not ready to call it a fall off, Derek. This could have been just a bad day at the office, or like you said, just not wanting to be there fighting. It happens, right? You train all this time, you put your name on a contract, and you go, and you're just not really in it. Right. And does that signify a fall off? Maybe. But I think this is more of just a lapse of performance for Luque going forward.
Let's just take a quick look and see if your analysis holds true to the numbers, AJ, because Vicente Luque, he landed all of 21 strikes in this fight before getting knocked out. I don't even know if knocked out is the right word, but he definitely got stopped. And if you just look at his other performances, man, right here, I mean, he doesn't throw up the biggest numbers, but this was just a little bit, it was just telling, man. There was nothing here. There's no production. Right? He gets knocked out for the first time since when? Since Jeff Neal, but that doesn't count, right? Okay, so here's the question. This is the real question that people are asking. The way that he was knocked out by Jeff Neal was so tragic. It was so tragic, not the right word. It was violent in a weird way. It was like his brain couldn't take it anymore and shut off for him. He's like, you're too tough. Oftentimes, that's a bad signal because we know at that point it's an involuntary thing. You know what I mean? Like your body just won't do what you need it to do. Buckley, we know, have massive power. We know he's super quick, athletic, faster. We knew all of that, right? And we knew that it was going to be the big swinging shots versus the straight shots of Luque. I didn't really see Luque get really hit with anything on the feet that looked that catastrophic. It didn't look that traumatizing. And it seemed like, again, he rolls over. He just pulls guard, not even tries to take him down, pulls guard, half-ass pull guard, and then just gets, like, you know, ground and pounded until he was finished right here. So not to beat a dead horse, because that's not what we want to do. All respect to the silent assassin right here, but I'm going to proclaim, AJ, I think that this is the fall of Vicente Luque, at least for top guys. I think now keep him around, but you're a gatekeeper to get people in the top 15 at this point. He was just a top 5 guy, like, a year ago, dog. So, like, that's what I'm saying. That's a fall off. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, that is a fall off, because I agree with you, Derek. Don't get rid of Luque. He still has a lot of value and can be that gatekeeper and probably for a long time, a nice litmus test going forward. But I mean, especially looking at the numbers and saying what you're saying, Derek, I can see how this is the fall off. And especially if his next fight, we see a worse performance, it's basically the end, writing at the end of the story for Luque.
Now, let's not focus on the negative part about it. Let's focus on the positive part. Joaquin Buckley is an issue right here at 170 right now, man. And the number one thing I wanted to attribute to this is this dude, he just looks like he's taking his career really seriously. That's the big difference right there. And I don't think he could have in the beginning of his career, because this dude at one point, forgive me if I'm incorrect, but he had said something along the lines of, yeah, I'm really glad I got this $50K bonus, because I don't got to go into my shift at 7-Eleven or whatever the case may be no more. Like something crazy. And I'm like, damn, you shouldn't be working those types of jobs when you're a UFC fighter. Now, hopefully he doesn't have to. My man is partying right here. Pre-fight, Joaquin Buckley. He's over here gigging with the peoples. If we play a little bit of this. Okay, Buckley. And that's it. He's just getting it with the people right here. Turn it up. Well, how do you feel about this, man?
Very interesting, right? I mean, it boded very unwell for me when I saw it before the fight, because I actually saw this before he was walking out. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, how locked in is a fighter? Apparently pretty damn well locked in. I mean, it wasn't the best knockout like we were saying before, but if you can do this, you can have fun, you can be whoever you want to be, and then go in the cage and do your business and look damn well, because nothing taken away from Buckley in this one. He looked great. Man, this is interesting. I mean, we'll see how it works out for him in the long run, but I like it.
This is what I got to say, and I wanted to go on like this frame specifically right here. Look, I don't think that you can look like this with this physique. This isn't the same. He used to be puffed up, 185 puffed up. This dude is chiseled, right? I don't think you could look like this with this physique unless you're ultra disciplined. You're not drinking no alcohol. You're on your water. You're eating properly. You exercise and cardio the whole nine. And what's better? You're in your vibe. You're in your element. This is giving me Mayweather vibes, where he's in the club doing the thing, but he's stone cold sober, running back home after the club and then going and beating people up, on fight night, right? So I think right here, I'm not concerned. Sorry, with all the freaking music. I'm not concerned right now when it comes down to Joaquin Buckley with those types of antics, because I think if you feel good, you fight good. And he fought incredible this weekend against Buckley. He says, hey, listen, I'm in the rankings now. Whoever's in front of me, I'm ready to give you some problems. Some people, they're saying, let's get the Kevin Holland versus Joaquin Buckley rematch. But in a weird change of events here, AJ, would you not say Joaquin Buckley, he has more momentum than Kevin Holland right now? He would be the A-side right now. What do you think?
Absolutely, Derick. It seems like Joaquin Buckley has found his new home, where we still see Kevin Holland as that guy trying to find who he is as a fighter. It seems like Joaquin Buckley has stepped into that role and stepped in with a heavy foot, too.
I am excited to see the future of Numancia right here. Again, that's just kind of the way it goes, though. One legend has to die for an up-and-comer to usurp them, and Vicente Luque is our fallen soldier. So shout out to the silent assassin, still all love, but Joaquin Buckley did what he set out to do, which was to silence the assassin. All right, AJ, now it's controversy time. Eye poke gate. We had tap gate, we had party gate, now it's eye poke gate right here. And of course, we have to start with our favorite, the All-American Chris Weidman. Let's bring up the big screen and let's just leave this image here for a moment while we discuss. So listen, man, first and foremost, kudos to Chris Weidman, because he looked phenomenal right here. The performance that I wanted him to have in his last fight against Brad Tavares, that's what he actually did here against Bruno Silva. So when I asked you in the pre-show, hey, should we hedge, right? Should we hedge Chris Weidman? AJ, do you remember what your response was?
I think I said no, Derick. I don't remember exactly. Was it a no?
No, I'm pretty sure you said yes. And you were like, yeah, you should absolutely hedge on this one. I got you covered right here. I think you said, yes, you should hedge on this one because this is Chris Weidman and he can get it done. But do we feel good about it? No, I don't feel good about hedging. But like, this is one where if you look at the stylistic advantage, you should hedge. And our thought process was because of the grappling. Well, AJ, it seems like Weidman didn't really need the grappling because the hands were doing all of the damage right here. Bruno Silva, he didn't perform the way that we wanted to. It's now very clear. Chris Weidman was a tough test, man. He's not like some no-name guy, right? It's just a dude who battled horrific injuries, who had to get it back. But the point is, right? So we're in this fight. Chris Weidman is more or less cruising to a decision victory at this point. Bruno Silva still has some big flurries. He's still catching Weidman, but Weidman's chin's holding up. And then you got a couple of eye pokes, right? First one, all right, it was bad, right? Or whatever the case may be. Bruno Silva was like, all right, you give me some time. I'm good. Then another eye poke happens. And this time it's a double eye poke, right? Now, forgive me because I don't remember. This is how many eye pokes there were, AJ. Was it that eye poke that was the one that finished it for Silva, or was it another one on top of that?
Another one on top of that, Derick, like a minute later or something like that. I forget exactly how long later, but basically back to back.
So first problem is referee, right? Referee, and I don't got a picture of him or else I'd show a picture. I might drop one in here when we edit this, right? But referee, right? He's refereed some UFC fights before. We know who this guy is, but he's over here very adamant. Nope. Both of them, they poked each other. That's it. So no, like, oh, you poked him again. No warning, no point deduction. It's like, nope, they both poked each other. And he was really adamant. This is coming off of after the other eye poke that we're going to talk about in a second, right? So same referee. So he's a little defensive at this point. But here's the point, right? Bruno Silva throws a punch, the thumb hits the eye. All right, I think that's way more fair than foul when it comes down to an eye poke situation, whereas you have Weidman just purely extending the fingers, poking him in the eye, right? So when it comes down to that, right, then we have this last one where we bring back up the big screen. This is inexcusable, man. What can you say? The fingers are clear. This is a double eye poke right here, man. This is probably, I think this was actually the first eye poke. This was the first eye poke, and this was like the third eye poke, the last eye poke. But the point is, you have a victorious Chris Weidman because what does Bruno Silva do? He shells up. He says, dude, my fucking eyeball hurts, man. Like, yo, I shelled up. Referee doesn't see the eye poke, and what do you know? Chris Weidman wins via TKO. Here's my thing, because I'm going to show the video right now, AJ, but when you poke somebody in the eye, a lot of times when you're fighting, you get a knockout, they say, oh, I didn't even feel it. He just went down. But when you poke somebody in the eye, and you know you didn't connect with a clean shot, and then you put your hands up and you celebrate, and like you knocked them out, there's a little bit of gamesmanship right there. Can we just be honest about that?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly the word I was going to use, Derick. Gamesmanship all day. You know you're in a fight. You know you're trying to get more money. Why not throw your hands up? I mean, until you get caught, until you have to say something otherwise, man, it's a fight. Rule number one: protect yourself at all times. Never turn your back on your opponent. Chris Weidman took advantage of it.
Hey, you have an awesome point right there. That's a really, really good point. That is clearly stated, man. Never turn your back on your opponent, but more importantly, we learned this from Mayweather back in the day. Protect yourself at all times. Doesn't matter. You want to dap up gloves, you better have one hand up on your chin because I'm coming for you, right? Now, AJ, it's time for the big screen. When we bring up the big screen,
I'll never question a guy if he's saying he gets poked in the eye, but you can't just drop every time you feel like something's touching your eyeball. You know?
Fair or foul?
Fair. I mean, it sucks. I mean, you can put your hands up, you can do all this stuff, but until the ref stops the fight, I don't feel bad.
Let's see what else he got.
He poked me in the eye bad one time, and I stood there, took it. Unless the ref's going to say something, I don't drop. I come from a wrestling background. It's a similar thing. You can't look to the ref for things. They're not going to help you. Sometimes it's going to go against you. You got to be always ready to defend yourself at all times. And
so with what he's saying right here, that's 100% respectable, man. Like, you can't even be mad at that because he's saying, listen, hey, you poked me too. I took it like a man, though, right? But the only difference is you poked my man like 3 times on 3 separate occasions. So give me something before we play the rest of the clip.
No, I agree. I mean, it's funny because I actually agree with both sides. I agree. I like this aspect and mindset of Chris Weidman, but at the same point, if you're Bruno Silva, you got poked in the eye 3 times, the ref did nothing. I would be pissed off at the ref for not even attempting to have fighter safety in mind on this one.
That's it. All right, let's wrap this up.
He dropped again. I don't know. Like, I was looking for a way out. I don't know. But that, like, you can't just turn your back and fall to the ground every time that your eyeball feels poked.
Anytime that your eyeball feels poked, not every time that I poked you in your eyeball, but when you feel that your eyeball got poked, bro, don't shell up, man. I take it like a man. I know you can't see, but we just learned. Well, it was just a couple fights ago, right? You don't need your eyes. Remember that? You don't need your eyeballs, bro. Just go in there and fight. Shout out Mike Bisping, right? So listen, you poked him very clearly in the eyeball, man. We got the proof is in the pudding right there. I actually think I might have it. Let me check my news and notes section right here, man, because I might have it there. Is it there? I don't have it. All right, I'm bullshitting. All right, what's the final verdict right here, man? He technically gets the TKO victory, or actually the TKO victory was overturned to a technical decision victory, so they stopped the fight, said Bruno Silva can no longer compete. We're just going to score it from here. Easy decision for Weidman. But here's the question. Fans are outraged. Bettors are outraged. Wagerers are outraged. AJ, they placed money on Weidman KO tickets, and they don't get cashed in. Now it's decision for Weidman. Then you have the other people who say this should be a disqualification. What's your final verdict?
I don't say disqualification at all, Derick. I don't think. I mean, you can say Chris Weidman did stuff wrong all day long, right? Not closing your hand or whatever. But at the end of the day, that comes down to the ref. I still like the win for Chris Weidman. As much as it hurts me, I was betting against him. But still, I think Chris Weidman did enough to get it done. I place full blame on the ref right here. A little bit of blame on both fighters. But either way, man, I think this one came out like it should have.
All's fair in love and war, but most importantly, let's not forget, folks, we would not have the greatest fighter of all time, John Jones, as a accredited champion if we were, real ticky-tack about these eye pokes right here. Let's just say there's been a lot of eye pokes here in championship history, yet alone just a regular fight. All right, moving on along. I wish that we could be done with the eye poke gate, but we're not quite finished right here, AJ. We have another one. And this is the video that I actually have right here. So let's get a play-by-play. Cedric Dumas, Nursultan Ruziboyev. Now, first things first, man. My biggest thing here as a backer of Dumas, he was my dog lock of the night. I've been proclaiming him all week long, right? Was that Ruziboyev is not nearly as tested. He's going to come out hot, but let's see what he has over the course of 15 minutes, not over the course of 5. We didn't make it there, AJ, and Ruziboyev looked sharp, and Dumas couldn't hit him with anything. So that was real problematic right there. Let's just say that. So credit where credit is due. Still not convinced because we didn't get a full fight out of Ruziboyev, but if he's going at this trajectory right here, I think they are going to give him the real matchup that's not going to bode well. But then again, 6'5", 100 and 185 pounds, 6'5". I mean, listen, you got a lot of intangibles, but this is the sequence, so let's play it out. All right, so here we go. So there was an eye poke already. I think we already missed the eye poke. So yeah, the eye poke already happened. So unfortunately, you're not seeing the eye poke, but you're seeing the aftermath. And this is the point right here, because this was irresponsible. Again, protect yourself at all times. This was irresponsible because this was a delayed reaction by Dumas, right? So you feel the eye poke. You go through an exchange. You're like, oh shit, all right. He looks, turns to the ref, completely defenseless. Ruziboyev pulls a Mayweather and says, listen, bro, you not ready to fight? Missed. I think he completely missed on that left hook. He's like, yo, my eye, what are you doing? What are you doing? He looks back at the ref again. Referee, former MMA fighter right here, I believe a dream fighter, but accredited MMA fighter, lightweight division, if I'm not mistaken. He's just like, bro, you better keep fighting. You better figure it out. And look at that. Bink. Hits him with the right hand. Uppercut. Drops him. And then he finishes the job right here. But we cannot sit here and pretend. We cannot pretend, AJ, that my man was not fully unengaged from the fight and then just gets swung on, man. It's almost like you're getting jumped. He's like, yo, what's going on here, man? You came out of nowhere. We wasn't fighting no more. We paused. Given this perspective right here, again, I think it's pretty clear from the last clip for the Weidman clip that you must protect yourself at all times. It's the responsibility of the fighter to do that, not the referee to do that for the fighter. In this case, fair or foul?
Man, I say fair on the side of Ruziboyev on this one. And all that was running through my mind was the old saying, man, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Shame on Cedric Dumas for that second look back at the ref. I get it. The first one, your eye was poked. You're looking to see, you're hoping that somebody's going to kind of stop the fight so that way you can tend to your wounds. You turned around full and the guy swung on you. From that moment, to me at least, I know that this guy, the second I take my eyes off of him, he's going to be swinging for the fences, like you're saying, getting jumped basically. Never taking your eyes off him again until the bell rings. I mean, that's rule one. That's how it goes. And he did it a second time. He looked back for the ref a second time, and that's what ends up in his knockout. I don't feel as bad anymore, man.
Oh, all right. Well, listen, it is what it is, right? I'm more concerned, though, because if they're talking about, all right, well, we're going to overturn this knockout for Chris Weidman because it was an eye poke again that led to the knockout, right? We're going to overturn it. We're going to make a decision because the fighter was no longer able to compete. I felt like this is a very similar situation right here, except the difference is if they would have took it right here, and this is the beginning of round one, not even a full round has passed. And if they would have just finished the fight right here, said the eye poke is what stopped him from being able to compete, I think they would have stopped the fight. And this would have had to have been ruled a no contest. So people are very upset because they say, Ruziboyev, another first round TKO. Look at him. He's smashing people on the scene. The first knockout over Bruno Ferreira, fair. You caught him, right? This one, it's hard for me to pronounce, yeah, you knocked him out, dude, because you did, but you poked him in the eye. Let me kick you in the nuts or poke you in the eye first, and then, you know what I mean, to see what happens there. But, all right, man, my final verdict on this one, fair for Ruziboyev. You got to do what you got to do, man. Listen, that's not your responsibility. Let the ref, be responsible for that. So it's fair to say 2 for 2, just poor officiating, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I blame all these on the ref.
All right, fair enough. All right, AJ, next up, we don't have a video to show for this one, unfortunately. Bill Algeo needed to be senior perfecto to put himself in a position to win this fight. Needed to stay away from the big bombs of Kyle Nelson. And we know one thing about Bill Algeo is that he's a reckless guy, hands down for a lot of his strikes. And he got caught. He got caught here against Kyle Nelson. But here's the question: you get wobbled, excuse me, AJ. You get rocked a little bit. You're shaky legs, you're moving, you're shaking, you're driving, right? You get hit with the big bomb, you're getting kind of like cracked on, but you're still up. That's the point. You're still up. You're not going down yet. We saw it even in there's a big boxing fight that happened this weekend as well. Isaac Cruz, right? Shout out to the Mexican pit bull versus Rolly Romero. Same situation. You're getting boxed up. You're not going down, but the referee jumps in and saves you from yourself. AJ, that feels like a boxing stoppage. That's what we got here in the UFC. Bill Algeo was saved from himself, didn't have an opportunity maybe to try to pull guard, to try to, work up an entanglement. It was looking bad for Bill Algeo. The question is, man, was this an early stoppage in your opinion? Did you think that Bill Algeo just got outclassed? Shout out to Kyle Nelson on a nice 2-fight run, but what were your thoughts?
I mean, first off, shout out to Kyle Nelson because he did everything he needed to do to be able to put himself in the best position possible. But honestly, Derick, I think this was a quick stoppage. I mean, we know how tough senior perfecto can be. And if he's still up and he's still able and he's still, looking and trying to fight, I say you give the man a chance, man. This was a very frustrating one for me just because I knew this fight was going to be close. And have it snatched out, well, Bill Algeo, and it admittedly was rocked, probably seeing stars, probably only, seeing 2 or 3 of Kyle Nelson. He was still giving effort, man. He was still giving, I wish he was given the opportunity to continue with as much effort as he was putting forward.
Absolutely. And apologies. Probably heard a little weirdness in the background, like, yo, what's going on? Well, AJ, I was able to do some reconnaissance while you were giving that, and I was able to get the stoppage here, my man. So when we pull it up right here, apologies, because I know this looks weird. This is just where I was able to pull it from. Oh, my gosh. So, look, he gets clipped, right? He gets clipped. That's all they're going to show right there. Look at that. Even that. I mean, it's not really indicative of, he's done for, right? He gets clipped. He's wobbled. He's still up, though. And even Algeo's protesting as soon as it happened, right? Ultimately, this comment sums it up well. It was an early stoppage, but the outcome wasn't affected. I mean, it kind of did seem like this was going one-way traffic for Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson is on this really nice run right here, man. And listen, the monster is only 32 years old. At this rate, keep giving him people in front of him that put their hands down because he's going to lay the big power on him. But there was really one path to victory for him to win, and that was it right there. Get him out of there quick. Over the course of 15 minutes, do you think that he would have been able to squeak this one out?
No, Derick, no. And that's why I said Kyle Nelson did everything he needed to do to put himself in the best position because he needed to win this fight early. If Algeo gets a little momentum and he can get his hands on you, he's going to work something nice.
That's right. All right. And then let's just talk about one more here, AJ. This was the one that we were worried about. Chidi Njokuani drops back down to 170 against Reese McKee. We didn't see a typical Chidi Njokuani fight. He started to pick it up as the fight got a little bit, more late. But I do think part of it was maybe like an energy conservation standpoint. I think he was saying, let me just kind of pick my shots right here. I'm going to do some damage, beat up the leg of Reese McKee. And what I want to show you, what I'm trying to look up, here it is. All right. So back to the big screen. What I wanted to show you was just going to be the numbers right here. So overall, Chidi Njokuani, 64 significant strikes, over 30 for Reese McKee. Now, this is where it just gets troubling for the McKee bettors because they say, okay, so McKee comes out hot, right? He still gets outstruck in the first round, but he has his best round in the first round. Does a little bit of damage. All right, we're starting to see a lot of people, they gave Reese McKee the first round, right? And then his output just drops. It just falls off of a cliff round 2 and round 3 where he decides, all right, I know I'm having some success pressuring, doing all that stuff, but now let me just clinch him and let me just hold on to him and try to get a takedown. And he tried to get a takedown for 2 rounds and he couldn't get it. But this is my assessment here, AJ. My assessment is Reese McKee, you saw it slowly but surely build up due to his fair complexion, but his leg was getting bombed on by Chidi, right? Those leg kicks, constant, from inside, outside, up to the top, inside, right? So he's like, dude, my fucking leg hurts, man. I'm kind of getting chewed up right here. Let me close the distance and let me take away the assets of this fighter and let me attack his weak spot, which is the grappling, right? Chidi has good takedown defense, man, especially at 170, a little bit stronger. So I think that he just said, I don't think I want to do this stand-up. I'm going to try to grapple. And then Chidi was able to just kind of outperform him for the rest of the duration of the fight. That's what led to very limited strikes. A tough run for Reese McKee back in the UFC, 0-2 in this next stint. But what are your thoughts?
Rough run for Reese McKee, man, but it's good to see Chitty back in the dub column, man, right here. It wasn't the typical, like flash that we'll see a Chitty, like a Chitty knockout we're used to seeing back in the day. But man, this is a bodes very well for the Njokuani career going forward, because if he can stay calm, calculated, and then build up that pressure throughout the remaining minutes of the fight, he's gonna look good. I'm excited to see where he goes, because I'm not ready to say put Chitty, bump him up, to the next level. But definitely, if we can slow build him again like they wanted to in the beginning, man, he could have a long time in the UFC.
Let's just see how many more times he can make that cut to 170, because that was the thing that was a little bit troubling. But he did hold up, man. His chin held up too, so that was definitely awesome to see. With that being said, folks, that was your overall bet recap right here for all of the fights that we had or 6 fights on the main card. There was a lot of stuff to talk about for all of them. So with that being said, the next thing that we need to do is, of course, jump into a news and notes section right here. We just got a couple fun things that I wanted to bring up. And AJ, if there's one thing that I love, it's definitely going to be the big screen. So through and through, we're going to revisit really quickly a question that I asked you in the beginning of the show, and that's just rating Atlantic City. You already said it was a boom. You said Atlantic City was a boom, but read this assessment, right? Adam Martin, he says, hey, 8 knockouts last night at UFC Atlantic City, which on paper makes it seem like it was a good card. I think that ties a company record for most knockouts on one card. However, 2 of them were eye poke, so it doesn't count. But anyways, however, if anything, this shows you that having knockouts doesn't make it a good time. I think the crappy officiating ruined it last night, turned it into a stinker. That's more of the MMA purists ideals right there. But if you're just a casual fan, you're like, dude, there's knockouts. I came for what I needed to see, right?
I mean, I as much as like you said, the purists out there really are in this for the sport or the technicality of the fight, man. No, I think this actually added more to it, because now it gives us more to talk about. It gives us more variables. There's things that happen in life, and man, especially if you're on the streets fighting, you get poked in the eye, you better not turn your back on them. That this just life or combat and action in sports mimicking life. I still think this added a lot of maybe not value, but because I agree with the point. The judges and the referees were the worst part of this entire fight card. But I still wouldn't say it was a stinker because of them. We've known that they're always the worst parts of every single fight card. I mean, it's just basic knowledge that we've had.
Yeah, no, definitely fair right there, man. So let me just bring this up right here, because this is going to be the next thing that I wanted to jump into. Enough of the analysis of the card. Let's talk about the weirdest thing that happened on this entire card. And I got the clip ready to go. So if you are ready, my friend, let's jump to the big screen. Andre Petroski, Ghost Phantom Temple, shoots in for a takedown and gets knocked out. Jacob Malkoun, this is one way to earn your first finish in the UFC, and let's just play it. That's it. A nice little soccer kick, right, to the ribs. But bro, I'm gonna go like frame by frame, right? So it comes in. This is where we're thinking it happens. Some people said it's the jab to the top of the head right there. He skims him. You see it. It bounces off of it. Maybe it was that. But more people think it was boom. Temple to the hip bone right there. Ooh. He goes in for the single, and you could tell he's already disengaging, right? Because he's not climbing up the leg. He's wrapping the ankle. Malkoun pulls his leg out, and then he's gone. He's already gone right here. Malkoun just finishes the job. Dink. That was just nice. I love that. Nice little something right there. So Jacob Malkoun, man. I mean, I'll play it back in full motion for you guys one more time. That's it. It was a phantom KO right here, man. A lot of Petroski backers right here. It looks like Malkoun was going to cruise to a victory, but the point is, what do you make of this right here? I have my own assessment, because I've shot in for a fair share of takedowns myself. But what are your thoughts, just as a fan, as a viewer?
Man, the hip bone is a very strong and pointy knuckle, basically, right there. And if you catch it right on your temple, and because in real time, I was like, man, what happened? We didn't see it. But when we saw the replay and you see his neck just crank, he came in with a lot of force. So I'm not surprised at how this went down. And it's a weird one, but it does happen.
It does happen. And I'll tell you, man, I've shot in my fair share of takedowns, man. I can't say I've shot in a trillion times or whatever. This has never happened to me. This hasn't really happened to a lot of people that I'm familiar with. Yeah, sometimes you could you bump your face a little bit, or you got if they got a gi on or something, you're rubbing your face, getting a rash burn on your face. But in a no gi situation, I've never had it happen to me personally. So this was really, really strange. He must have shot in really hard. Because I don't see how else. You know, he just literally flash KO'd himself, man. So this was a rough one, and this was the beginning of the weirdness for this card, where everyone was like, "Yo, what is going on here?" But that is just the start right here, and then we did get we got the assessment on it, right? So per Petrosky's corner. Andre, he hit his head on Malkoun's hip during that sequence. It caused a split on Andre's head. That's what caused the strange finish at UFC Atlantic City. So, with that being said, Andre Petrosky, hopefully he gets back, but big KO win for Jacob Malkoun. All right, our favorite, Nate the Train Landwehr. He gives the quote of the year after a comeback KO win over Jamal Emmers. He says, "Whoop my ass and see what happens." Nate Landwehr, 2024. Come on. Nate Landwehr for president, bro. The Train, baby. We got to hear it.
Hey, whoop my ass and see what happens. Let's go.
That's right. And what's hilarious, man, is you got to feel for him, bro. I wish this was in a place that was closer to Tennessee or something, because the crowd would have been electric. It felt like they weren't really feeling him, though, right? So he kept saying, "Let's go." They weren't going, though. They weren't having it. But that is the line of all lines.
Hey, whoop my ass and see what happens. Let's go.
AJ, where does this fit in MMA lore? This has to be a meme. This has to be iconic. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, Derick. May not be up there with 3-piece and a soda or first one to shoot's a bitch, but either way, man, this one is up there with at least the top 5, top 10, however you say it, man. Yeah, how scared would you be, man? Guy's bleeding from the face. He's your next opponent, and all you hear is "whoop my ass, see what happens." Like, I don't even want to whoop his ass now, because I'm gonna get it even worse. Nah, man, this is hilarious. I love Nate the Train for this one, man. This is great. This made me bust up laughing when I saw it.
I think Landwehr has now officially entered the Darren Elkins territory, where you're on that level now. There's fear in people's hearts for the damage, right? You know, you go to war with that guy, a piece of you is not coming back. That's the same thing against Nate the Train. And listen, man, what a guy. I'll just leave it at that. What a guy, Nate the Train Landwehr. Let's hear it one more time for good time's sake right here, man.
Hey, whoop my ass and see what happens. Let's go.
Let's go, Nate the Train. Whoop my ass and see what happens. You get an extra $50K on top of everything for that one. All right, man. Now, hottest headlines, not, for this week's actual card. This is just kind of across the MMA sphere. It's a little bit of a dry week, folks, but let's see what we got. Former flyweight champion Brandon Moreno, he announces his break from MMA. Now, let's look in a little more in depth, right? So he says, 8-minute video on Instagram. He's been feeling overwhelmed mentally recently with the pressures of fighting, being a champion for so long. He says it's not a retirement, it's just a break. Now, that's never what you want to hear, especially at his weight class. The more the years tick up in age, or they pass, the older that you get, man, the least likely your success is at 125 pounds. Is there a comeback redemption tour for Brandon Moreno? Will he ever be champion at 125 pounds again?
I mean, the skill set is there, Derick, and now with this being set up, the narrative is also there. But it really depends on how long's this break, man. We talking 6 months? We talking 3 years? Like, how long does it need to be? Because I'm fully backing Moreno in this one, man. You have some mental exhaustion. You're feeling a little fatigue. You have other responsibilities, and all this other stuff is just getting in the way, clouding your mental judgment. I think break sounds great, man. Sounds like it could rejuvenate you. But if you're taking that 2-3 longer break, 3-year break, man, the rest of the MMA community is growing 10 times in that fold. I don't really like it. We'll see how long it actually is and how it bodes for him. But, do you like this, Derick?
I do, because this brings life to the flyweight division, man. Now they could stop fighting each other and they could actually say, let's give somebody else a shot. So, yeah, again, this is the unfortunate nature of the sport, but somebody has to take a step back in order for someone to take a step forward. So it's unfortunate. We love Moreno. He's a fan favorite. I'm not sure how he'll do when he comes back, but yeah, if this is what you need to rejuvenate you, do your thing. Do your thing, my friend. All right, moving on over. No USADA, no problem. Brandon Royval, drug tested while eating at a restaurant. I thought that's the whole point of getting rid of USADA. They're like, dude, they drug test me at 3 a.m. while I'm trying to sleep on fight week. They drug test me when I'm training. Let's see what we got. They really drug tested me everywhere. I think that's what it says, everywhere. That's it. There's no video to that. Or there's no sound to that. I thought there'd be more. But the point is, there's the collection guy walking away. He's at the restaurant. Fair or foul? Again, here, AJ, what do you think?
Fair. Hey, man. I mean, would you rather be interrupted in a meal, or would you rather be woken up at 3 a.m. fight week? I'd rather be interrupted in a meal with the homies and just be like, oh, hey, business calls, got to go do my job. I'll be right back. No
Go
problem
take a
to
piss
me.
real quick. Yeah, I've been drinking anyways. It's all good. I got some here for you. Man, to be that collection guy, like who you want to be that guy? That's who you want to be. You don't want to be the collection guy walking around with cups of people's piss. All right, fantasy matchmaking: Khabib versus GSP right here. This was just a friendly little exchange. Clearly, GSP. I think I would have beat Khabib because he would have come and to put pressure on me. I would have put him down. I would have had the confidence to try to go for it. Khabib just says, I learned a lot from this guy to hear about him talking about me. It's just so interesting. GSP all day. Friendly little banter right here, but the question is, fantasy matchmaking, my friend, who gets it done? I do not think GSP would be able to get it done against Khabib. But then again, it's different eras, man. It's different eras, and it's hard to compare. What do you think?
Different eras, prime GSP versus prime Khabib. Man, I think I don't know. It's hard because I'd give it to GSP with the hands and the pressure, but I mean Khabib's pressure is something to be of legend, if you will. My big thing going into this is how are these guys' names still coming up? Like how under the skin does it get of all these other fighters, all these other greats that are competing today? The John Joneses, the Shevchenkos, the people that have been here for so long, basically just getting ignored, man. And we're still talking about two dudes that haven't fought in like 3 or 4 years, and that's just Khabib, not even GSP, who hasn't fought like 7. It kind of blows my mind that the casuals still like to see this drum up, because this really is more of a a person who said they like fighting, they know a couple names, and now they want to have this matchup. It just doesn't. My whole thing is it doesn't make sense why people are still talking about it. But I mean, I'd love to see it, But I don't know, Derek. What do you feel?
These are the most impactful guys, man. Khabib, he'll always be cemented because he got to walk away with the O. Nobody walks away with the O. He walked away with it. GSP, legendary career. Kind of unloved at the time that he was doing it, right? It's all revisionist history because he was a decision machine and people hated that, right? But then he comes back to 185, beats Bisping, and now he's a double champ. Like, you got to give respect to these guys. John Jones isn't done. People don't like John Jones outside of fighting. Daniel Cormier, he's done, but people don't like him because of the commentary. It's just how it goes. GSP has managed to stay low-key enough that people still love him because he just minds his business. Same thing with Khabib. They're trying to force him to be involved, and he's like, I want nothing to do with y'all. I'm just going to do me. I'm going to coach my fighters, and I'm going to handle my business. So I think that's why. But I think that's also a very fair way to end the news and notes section right there, my friend. We covered everything that we needed to. One final piece of business, AJ. Let's handle a little rankings review, my friend. Let's jump into the aftermath of how these rankings played out. Really, there's 2 places that I wanted to take a look at right here. The first place was going to be the easiest place that we probably can choose from. That's going to be the welterweight division. So let's go ahead and let's pull up the big screen. And if you take a look at the welterweight division, you will see. So we got some updated picks. Everything's been updated as of late, or in terms of the rankings right here. I had Vicente Luque ranked at number 9 overall in my rankings. You have Vicente Luque at 12. It looks like you've clearly been down on Luque. So again, folks, my rankings in the middle, AJ on the right. These are the UFC rankings on the left. So given that you are already down, Joaquin Buckley comes in and he at least steals this number 12 spot right here. In my book, Joaquin Buckley jumps into the top 10. But now I'm reassessing this because I had Luque above Jeff Neal, even though Jeff Neal beat Luque. Listen, man, I was just really high on Luque, right? I don't know. I don't know if Joaquin Buckley could fit into this top 10 yet, man. Jack Della Maddalena is a big problem right there. I have him ranked at number 10. Do you think Joaquin Buckley can get past a Jack Della Maddalena?
Man, I want instant
14,
reaction
though.
is a no, Derek. Instant reaction is a no. But yeah, I mean, that's what I was looking at too. I got him at 14. So for him to go above Vicente Luque, yeah, man, I mean, he could. There's a potential just because we haven't seen Maddalena have to fight. And it's hard to say the caliber that Joaquin Buckley is, but maybe just the explosiveness or chaos that Buckley brings. I think Maddalena can get it done, though, man. This is an interesting one.
It definitely is. So it's just interesting to see how Joaquin Buckley is going to fit into fighting these guys right here. But an interesting, I mean, I would love to see him just purely fight Jeff Neal. I'd love to see what that fight looks like. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of fights for him to have. Who knows? What if they throw a Fakhreddinov at him? You know what I mean? Like, then we got some real issues, right? That's almost like Albert Duraev all over again. There's some fun fights. Some people are saying Vicente Luque's next fight should be against Neil Magny. That's an interesting one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like it. I mean, for Vicente Luque, he's gonna have to be forced into that position of gatekeeper for this top 15 for quite a while until he proves himself otherwise and goes on a rampage. But I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me or any other up and comer, really.
Okay, fair enough. And let's jump into another division right here, the women's strawweight division. As you can see, we had a pretty big matchup right here. Vina Jandiroba. Where's Vina at? I got her at number 4. I'm very high on Vina Jandiroba. I have been very high on Vina Jandiroba. You got her at number 5. The UFC has her at number 5. So she fights Lupi, and Lupi it was an admirable performance right here, but I think it was kind of ludicrous to have Vina at plus money against Lupi with the style of fight, knowing that Jandiroba could take anybody down, and that's exactly what she did. Lupi Godinez, his sister, is an Olympic wrestler. That doesn't matter. Vina Jandiroba did what she needed to do. Mission accomplished. Over 2.5 rounds. Hit again. We love it. But here's the point, man. I was having this conversation, and I was saying that Vina Jandiroba gets overlooked because I think of how she looks, man. She doesn't talk a lot. She's not a big personality. She looks a little funny. And for whatever reason, she's not in these talks to be like, hey, she should be next for the championship. I think that's exactly what she should be calling for. She'd be like, yo, why am I fighting Lupi Godinez, who I have at number 10, they have at number 10, and we all have number 10, right? I need to be fighting Tatiana Suarez, right? I need to fight Esparza. Esparza's on the shelf with the baby, right? But, you know, this is the championship fight. Weili, Xiaonan. Should Vina be next?
Absolutely, Derick, and I agree with you. There's a lot of overlook that happens at Jandiroba, but she should be fighting for that title, if not a number 1 contenders fight, because who else have we seen not do it yet? You know, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's pretty much getting their shot, man. If you take a look at it, I mean, Rodriguez, Dern, Hibas, they're trying to give the push to Ricci, you know what I mean? Lemos, Andrade, like Jandiroba, she's the only one. What happened there? There we go. Jandiroba, she's the only one who isn't getting the shot. So that's something that we're going to have to take into consideration. But with that being said, I mean, that's a fair rankings review right there, my friend. We made it to another outro, UFC Atlantic City, and next week we have a banger. We got a rematch, man. Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis. The action, man. We got a lot to break down. What we're going to be looking for, more importantly, is to provide you guys the value that we came up a little bit short on this week. But overall, that's why we give you our assessments, our numbers, 55% accuracy plus for both of us on the board. That's what you got to love to see. So it's about the long game. There's always going to be variance. That's how we started the show. That is how we will end the show. AJ, take us out of here.
Like Derick said, folks, long game makes long money all year long, and we're over here playing for some belts. But like I say, it's gleaming right here because we're going to be putting gold in your pocket as well. It may not have been this week, but damn sure it's going to be next week. We're providing fire, we're providing money, so make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends, folks. It's going to be a banger next week.
Tell a friend, you know what the platform is about. We'll catch you this upcoming Friday for the preview show, our prediction show. Go ahead, subscribe as much as you can till then, and we'll catch you on the flip. Until next time, folks. Peace.